The internet has a funny way of creating legends. Not the kind that we used to read about in ancient epics, but modern ones. Born not in battlefields, but in Twitch chats. Not carried by swords, but by keyboards, cameras, and streaming software. And maybe the strangest of all these legends is the one made of blocks. The Dream SMP. It began as nothing more than a private Minecraft server. A few friends, a couple of streamers, a shared world to mess around in. But within months it would become something much bigger. A sprawling narrative universe with factions, betrayals, moral grey areas, live war broadcasts, ghost stories, and grief so real it broke through the screen. It became Minecraft's greatest story, played out in real time before an audience of millions. There were no retakes, no writers' rooms, just improvisation, instinct, and the raw energy of a community building something truly new. This is Frame Theory, and today we'll be discussing the story of how Dream SMP rose to dominate the internet, how it reshaped gaming, live streaming, and storytelling itself, and why, like all great stories, it had to end. Chapter 1: The Origins, a server born in chaos. In April 2020, the world had hit pause. The COVID-19 pandemic was sweeping across the globe, and with it came a strange kind of silence. For the first time in modern history, millions of people found themselves with nothing but time, screens, and the need for connection. It was during this moment that Minecraft, an already iconic game, experienced a second golden age. The game offered a kind of peaceful control during a time when everything felt uncertain. And while many people built castles and farms in single-player worlds, a few creators started doing something else. Dream had already captured the internet's attention with his Minecraft Manhunt video.
Yes! You have nowhere to run! You have nowhere to run!
You
have nowhere to run! You have nowhere to run.
But behind the scenes, he wanted a more relaxed place to play with his friends. So he made a server. There was no lore, no politics, just Stream, George Not Found and Sapnap, goofing around and building. And then tommyinnit joined. Tommy was chaos incarnate. He stole from chests, he broke rules, he shouted over everyone, but most importantly, he streamed everything. And people watched. His arrival added unpredictability to the calm structure Dream had built. Fights broke out, rivalries formed, the seed of drama was planted. That drama caught the attention of Wilbur Soot, musician, writer, and content creator. And soon, one of the most important architects of what would become the Dream SMP's lore. Wilbur didn't just play Minecraft, he crafted stories, and when he logged into the server, he brought a new kind of energy, one that would turn gameplay into performance. Together, Wilbur and Tommy introduced something no one had seen before in Minecraft: in-character political roleplay. They didn't know it yet, but they had just invented the Dream SMP we remember. Chapter 2: The Birth of Lore, lmanberg and Revolution. When Wilbur joined the server, he didn't come in as just another player. He came in with a vision. Alongside Tommy, he declared the formation of a brand new nation, lmanberg. This was a turning point. Lmanberg wasn't just a name or a location. It was a symbol. A fictional in-game country created in defiance of Dream's authority on the server. Wilbur and Tommy claimed independence from the original Dream team's rule, and a conflict immediately sparked. Dream, who had once been the server's passive overseer, suddenly became a reluctant antagonist, and just like that, the Dream SMP became a stage for a revolution. What followed was a war, a real-time, multi-day conflict played out through live streams. lmanberg's founders built a bunker, they made a flag, they wrote a national anthem. Speeches were written, strategies were planned, and viewers watched every moment unfold, sometimes across multiple points of view. This wasn't scripted, there were no retakes, it was improvised, and yet It felt cinematic. By the time Dream's forces and the Manberg rebels clashed, hundreds of thousands of people were watching live. Minecraft, long dismissed as a kids' game, was suddenly hosting a political drama with stakes higher than some Netflix originals. And then, against all odds, lmanberg won. They gained their independence. They built momentums and memorials. They created a culture, and just as quickly, they fractured. Because the moment a revolution ends, governance begins, and that's where things get messy. Chapter 3: Politics, Pogtopia, and the Descent into Madness. With lmanberg free from Dream's control, Wilbur sought to introduce the next twist in the narrative: a democratic election. It was a natural evolution. A country needs leaders, right? But in true Dream SMP fashion, the election went off the rails immediately. Wilbur and Tommy ran as Pog 2020 party. Their opposition? Jay Schlatt, an off-server creator brought in specifically for the Ark, running with Quackity under the banner of Schlatt 2020, a joke campaign that unexpectedly won. And suddenly, the server shifted again, from revolution to dictatorship. Schlatt exiled Wilbur and Tommy. He tore down monuments, he dissolved the democratic system. lmanberg became Manberg, a twisted shadow of its former self. Viewers watched as power corrupted, as friendships crumbled, and as characters began unravelling. Wilbur, once the hopeful founder of a new nation, became paranoid and consumed with vengeance. He formed a resistance, Pogtopia, and began planning a coup. But as the plot darkened, so did Wilbur's character. He wasn't just fighting to reclaim a country, he was unravelling, slowly, painfully, turning into something unrecognisable. And then came Technoblade. Techno was recruited as a weapon of war, a chaotic neutral force. He didn't care about lmanberg or Manberg. He only believed in one thing: anarchy. Together, Pogtopia launched a rebellion. Schlatt was overthrown, power returned to the people. But in one of the most dramatic moments in Dream SMP history, Wilbur revealed his plan had never been to restore lmanberg. It was to destroy it. He pressed a button, and the country he created was reduced to rubble. Chapter 4: Doomsday. Anarchy, Exile, and the Fall of lmanberg. Wilbur's final act, blowing up lmanberg, wasn't just a twist. It was a signal. The Dream SMP had left behind its early charm. The tone was darker now, more dramatic, and the server had fully evolved into a theatre of consequences. After Wilbur's death, killed by his own father, Filza, in a hauntingly poetic moment, the server was in ruins. But it didn't stay quiet for long, because Technoblade, who had helped Wilbur bring destruction, was just getting started. Techno wasn't like other characters. He didn't chase glory or approval. He believed in a single philosophy. Government is inherently bad and must be destroyed. So when the new lmanberg government, led by Tubbo, began rebuilding, they made a fatal mistake. They tried to control Techno. They demanded loyalty. They expected obedience. And Techno retaliated. He summoned withers, he tore through walls, and with Filza by his side, he launched the Doomsday raid. A relentless, visually stunning siege that left lmanberg destroyed a second time. This time, permanently. It was a chilling, dramatic finale to the country's arc. The symbol of everything built and lost was now a crater. And standing in the rubble was Dream. For months, Dream had taken a back seat, watching, listening, manipulating. But now he emerged again. This time, not as a creator or a moderator, but as a villain. And his plan had only just begun. Chapter 5: The Prison Arc. Control, Memory, and the Trial of tommyinnit. If Techno was the anarchist, Dream became the tyrant. He didn't rule through war. He ruled through psychological warfare. Where others built nations, Dream built schemes. He began targeting tommyinnit, tormenting him over a seemingly trivial prize, a pair of music discs. But those discs were never just items. They were a symbol of autonomy, of legacy, of something Tommy had earned and fought for. And Dream knew that. He used them, over and over, as leverage. Tommy was exiled, sent into the wilderness, isolated from everyone he trusted. In real-time streams that sometimes lasted hours, viewers watched him spiral. There were moments of humour, of defiance, but also of despair, loneliness. Meanwhile, Dream manipulated others too. Ranboo, whose fragmented memory made him vulnerable. Quackity, who began to question Dream's hold over the server. Even Tubbo, now tasked with leading what remained of their community, was constantly navigating between defiance and survival. Eventually, the tension reached a boiling point. In a climactic confrontation, Tommy and Tubbo, together again, cornered Dream. They beat him in PvP, they disarmed him, and they imprisoned him from inside Pandora's vault, a bedrock prison designed by Sam, inaccessible to anyone without precise keys and redstone rituals. For a moment, it felt like justice. The villain was locked away. The threat was over. But the prison arc was far from finished, because even in captivity, Dream wasn't done. He whispered doubts, planted seeds. He began manipulating people from inside the cell. The prison wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning of a new kind of control. Chapter 6. The Ghost of the SMP. Debt, Memory, and Reinvention. One of Dream SMP's most remarkable features was how it handled death. Unlike traditional Minecraft, where death is just a respawn, the SMP began attaching real weight to loss. Characters who died didn't always come back, and if they did, they weren't the same. After his explosive death, Wilbur returned, not as the man he once was, but as Ghost Burr, a pacifist, innocent version of himself with no memory of his past sins. He was kind, gentle, and hauntingly tragic. Then there was Schlatt, who reappeared in a spectral form, popping up in chaotic moments, laughing like a ghost from a Shakespearean tragedy. And Ranboo, alive but breaking, a character with memory issues who began leaving notes to himself in case he forgot what side he was on. Over time, even the audience wasn't sure who he really was. The idea of canon lives became core to the server. Most characters had 3 lives, a nod to Minecraft's hardcore mode. Once you lost them all, you were gone for good. This added emotional stakes. If someone died, especially in a major lore stream, it mattered. Viewers grieved. Entire arcs revolved around trying to avoid that final death. The most powerful exploration of mortality came not in lore, but in real life. Because in mid-2022, the Dream SMP lost one of its own. Chapter 7. So Long Nerds. The Death of Technoblade. On June 30th, 2022, a video was uploaded to Technoblade's channel. It was titled So Long Nerds, and it wasn't narrated by Techno. It was narrated by his father. In the video, his dad revealed what no one wanted to hear, that Technoblade had passed away after a long battle with cancer. He had kept his diagnosis private, continuing to upload and stream whenever he could, right up to the end. The internet stopped. Dream SMP members, fans, animators, rivals, everyone mourned. Memorials were built on the server, tribute streams were held. Minecraft himself honoured him with a crown atop a pig in the launcher and, recently, in the Minecraft movie. It didn't matter if you watched for Techno's PvP skills or his one-liners, or his chaotic lore involvement. His presence had shaped the server, and his absence reshaped it again. It was the kind of loss that reached beyond story. This wasn't a character's death. This was real. It grounded the Dream SMP in a way no plotline ever could. And after that, something changed. The energy, the frequency, the tone. Dream SMP would continue, but it would never be the same. Chapter 8. The long goodbye, burnout, breaks, and the slow fade. By late 2022, the Dream SMP had already begun to slow. The momental lore arcs that once captivated hundreds of thousands of live viewers had tapered into more sporadic appearances. Plotlines stalled, characters vanished, some creators quietly stopped logging on, others shifted to different games, different platforms, or entirely different careers. It wasn't drama, it wasn't failure, it was fatigue. The Dream SMP had run on momentum, creativity, and chaos for over 2 years, longer than most television shows stay relevant. But behind the scenes, these weren't scripted actors with a team of editors and producers. These were real people, many of them only in their teens or early 20s, improvising emotional storylines for millions, and doing it live. The pressure was enormous. Lore streams often required coordination between 5 to 10 people across different time zones. A single plot beat could involve days of preparation, character development, and expectation. And because nothing was ever edited down, creators had to deliver on the spot, in character, with no second chances. Eventually, that energy became unsustainable. Still, there were moments of beauty in the late game era. Ranboo's death and final stream, his resurrection and descent into villainy as his old self, Quackity's nation of lost Nevadas, an ambitious project that tried to breathe new life into the server's landscape, and Slimecicle's heartbreaking arc, where trust was tested and broken in ways no one expected. There were whispers of a finale, a planned endgame, but it never truly arrived. Instead, the Dream SMP faded like so many stories do. Not with a bang, but with a long, quiet exhale. Some say it was too long. Some say it wasn't long enough. But maybe it lasted exactly long as it needed to. Chapter 9. The Legacy. What the Dream SMP taught us about stories. So what was the Dream SMP, really? Was it just a Minecraft server? A chaotic experiment? A playground for streamers? Or was it something more? For many fans, it was the first story they truly followed. Not in books, not on TV, but live, unfolding in real time, shaped by real people. It was unpredictable, messy, and full of imperfections. And that's why it mattered. It was an invitation to be a part of something, to watch history as it happened, and to connect with others who felt the same spark when Tommy shouted, when Wilbur monologued, when Techno charged into battle with a laugh and a potato in hand. It also represented something new in storytelling, a hybrid between live streaming, performance art, and community roleplay. No scripts, no directors, just people making things up and committing so hard that it started to feel real. And that's the thing about the Dream SMP. It blurred the lines between game and theatre, between player and character, between fan and participant. It taught us that stories don't have to be polished to matter. They just need to be shared. Today, the Dream SMP is mostly quiet. The spawn stands still, the nations are gone, the wars are over, but echoes remain. On YouTube channels, in animatics, in fan fiction, in quotes burned into the hearts of millions. So long, nerds. Are we the bad guys? It was never meant to be. They were just lines, just moments, But for those who lived through the Dream SMP era, they became part of a language, a memory of a time when Minecraft told a better story than anything on Netflix. The server may be dormant, but the impact, that's canon forever. And maybe, just maybe, we haven't seen the last of it. Because stories like these, they don't just die, they respawn. This has been Frame Theory, where we break down the stories behind the games. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like, drop a comment, or subscribe for more deep dives into the internet's greatest games. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes the most powerful stories are the ones you didn't realise you were a part of. Until next time.